Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Today, all of our guests, including Jeff Paterson, standing by, are brought to you by the Alberni Power and Marine RPM Group, located in Port Alberni. Alberni Power and Marine is one of Vancouver Island's most trusted boat dealerships. Why are you looking at me like that?
Yeah.
The largest Mercury Marine dealership in Canada. Their service team just won for the fourth straight year a customer satisfaction index score above the national average. Make your appointment today at albernipowermarine.com. Not much time to get out on the water these days, but I guess there still is a little bit of time.
Lots of time.
All right, joined now by Jeff Paterson from the Rink podcast and Sakaris from Price to talk about the Canucks. Jeff, thanks for doing this. How are you?
Donnie, Dolly, I am terrific. It's great to have you guys back. I was out at the rink yesterday talking to Patrick Alvin. Football season is about to start. The U.S. Open is deep into the final weekend. Baseball playoffs around the corner. CFL past Labor Day. Steele and Vance starting on check. What a time to be alive.
We haven't mentioned that yet. I'm surprised the boss hasn't called, but thanks for doing that, Jeff. Jody Vance, Linda Steele starting a new show on Thursday. Right in these studios.
Yep.
Right in these studios. The summer. Jeff, I know you're in Europe. How was the summer?
Yeah, unfortunately, I had to come back. Reality sets in. It's a big world out there. There's lots to see, and we had a terrific vacation. If people are ever thinking of going to Croatia, I would highly recommend it. We had a good week there, and then a couple of other spots. You know, it's Europe. You get around. Everything's like an hour away by plane or train, and so, yes, we did some exploring, but that was then, and as I said, it was good to get back to the rink, and I'm ready for hockey, and I'm excited about what's to come. I mean, so many moving parts, obviously, and so many big stories, and one shelved with the JT Miller contract, but that presents some other questions and concerns around this hockey club. But I'm excited to jump into it. Going to Penticton next week for Young Stars, Whistler the week after that for training camp.
7 years, $56 million. You mentioned it for JT Miller. Does that deal make sense in your opinion for the Vancouver Canucks?
Obviously, with a contract like this one, Donnie, there's always risk on the back end, but it's impossible to deny what JT Miller has become and what he means to this team on the ice. The way he plays, I think at times you look at this lineup and you wonder, is there enough snarl? And JT Miller certainly brings snarl. We see that on a lot of shifts when things don't go his way necessarily, but just the way that he plays and sort of that engine that's always going. And listening to Patrick Alvin yesterday, they said that internally they looked ahead to what was going to be available on the free agent market next year, the year after that, and they came to the conclusion that there was no better replacement than the guy that they had, and so they elected to push all the chips to the middle. In the same breath, Alvin also said yesterday he recognizes that a team that didn't make the playoffs isn't a Stanley Cup contender, and you can't go from missing the playoff to being a contender right away, that there are some steps there in the middle. And so there's risk involved in all of this, but, on some level, it's a good news story when you retain your leading scorer and a guy that wants to be here and a guy that wants to commit, and you just hope that in any deal like this one that you can get 4 or maybe 5 really productive years, and then you kind of let things settle the way they will, and there's probably going to be a couple of years at the back end that are going to certainly won't present the value that the hockey fans here would like. I know you were all in on the rebuild, but when you've got Hughes and you've got Paterson and you've got Thatcher Demko and you've got Brock Besser all under contract, I just don't think you can strip it right down and do what Chicago has done or what Arizona has done, even what Ottawa has done. I just think that they recognize that JT Miller means a lot to this group. He can provide that leadership for the younger players. And they feel that they're going to find a way, somehow, some way, that they're going to be able to build around the fringes here to get this team to be a competitive group.
Jeff, so much talk about Miller, Horvat, but the guy for me, the key is going to be Paterson. Where do you play him? Up the middle or on the wing? He's got to get out of this 60, 70-point range. He's got to elevate himself up to 80, 85, 90 if he can get there. Talk about Paterson and your expectations for him this year.
Well, I agree. It's time for him to, I would say baseline would be a point a game guy. And first of all, that means staying healthy. I don't want him to be a 10-point player over 10 games. I want him to play all 82. And he needs to hit the ground running at training camp. We know last year the contract was a distraction. He mentioned as much, and he got off to such a sluggish start and really didn't get the Bruce bump that a lot of other guys did. It took till mid-January before he found his form. And then from that point to the rest of the season or the end of the season, look out. I mean, he looked a lot like that star player that burst into the league and took the league by storm in the first couple of seasons. So that's promising because at this time last year, he was coming into a camp, or he wasn't coming to camp because the contract hadn't been signed, but also he had gone through a summer that the wrist was still an issue. He's healthy this year. I want to believe that, he's put in the time. He's that kind of player. I don't ever doubt his dedication. He wants to be a great player in the National Hockey League. So I hope for him it was a big summer, without the hurdles and the obstacles that were present last year. And then he can just hit the ground running, get a full training camp, as many preseason games as he feels he needs, and then be ready to truly be a leader on this team. Because we look and we talk about JT Miller, and yes, he was the leading scorer, and 99 points was incredible. I'm not sure that he's going to get back to that. But what if JT Miller drops off 15 points, but Elias Pettersson's able to pick up 15 or 20? Do you take that trade-off if you're a Vancouver Canuck fan? And as much as JT Miller means to this group in the here and now, big picture, Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, Thatcher Demko, those are the guys that I think truly have to emerge as the MVPs. And wouldn't it be great in a year or 2 years or 3 years if there was this healthy discussion about who is the most valuable player to the Vancouver Canucks? And it was a healthy debate among those three guys that I just mentioned. And you still want JT Miller performing at a high level. You want Bo Horvat doing his thing. You want Brock Besser to reach that 30-goal mark. But I think ultimately this core group, and this team will go as far as guys like Pettersson, Hughes, and Demko can take them.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to the Miller contract, by the way, Jeff, I hope I'm wrong. I hope it all works out for the Canucks as somebody who has suffered like a lot of people since before 1970. In my case, Bo Horvat, I know you talked about this, not just you, but everybody in the media yesterday that was assembled with Patrick yesterday talking about Bo Horvat's contract. $5.5 million right now. His contract are scheduled to end, or it will end, at the end of next season, going into next summer. What's a decent AAV for Bo Horvat next contract?
I heard Rick mention $7 million. I think if he can get a contract that has an average annual value that starts with a 7, his agent has done terrific work here. 61 points, and it's not just the point totals with Bo Horvat. There's a leadership component. There's the low maintenance of just being a guy that shows up and plays, and you don't have to worry. You know what you're getting from Bo Horvat. You'd love to see him bring his penalty killing along a little bit more, and maybe he'll have that opportunity. He's a face-off whiz. That's where he contributes, late games, protecting leads, all those types of things. But at the end of the day, 61 points is a high watermark. I don't think you can be commanding a king's ransom with that. JT Miller off a 99-point season got $8 million. So I look at Bo Horvat at 5.5. They have got great value out of that deal into the final year here. I would think somewhere in my mind, if he could get 8 years at 6.5, I think he and his camp, that's the total, if my math is right, that's $52 million total. The Canucks are the only team that can offer him the max length of a contract right now with that 8th year. So, at the draft, it sounded like something was pretty close, and obviously here we are 2 weeks ahead of training camp, and still no extension for Bo Horvat. I asked Patrick Calvin yesterday if this can be a distraction, because one of the things JT Miller said when he was available to the media yesterday was, look, I've got this out of the way. I'm just clear and I can focus on hockey. That's great, but really all that does is offload that onto Bo Horvat. And now you've got your captain who's wondering about where does he fall in the pecking order? Where's the team's commitment to him? Did they have to get a deal done with Miller first before they could attack Horvat, knowing the cost certainty that they have in place with JT Miller? And I just wonder, Bo seems like a pretty even keel guy, but we have seen this in pro sports where this kind of stuff does weigh on players. The flip side of that is Johnny Hockey just went through this in Calgary and put up 115 points and didn't let it be a distraction to him. So it can be done. I think Bo Horvat's a true professional, but in a perfect world, he would get that same peace of mind that JT Miller got by putting pen to paper and getting the extension in place before he hits the ground running for the start of the season.
Jeff, you're going to be with us all hockey season. Great to have you back, my friend. All the best. Thank you.
I look forward to it.
You bet.